Hello, everyone. I'm Riva, and this is Inspired After Hours. We're doing part 2 for how to pick a passion project. The reason for this is I got through reflecting on part 1 and realized I gave you guys 3 great strategies for how to start to generate the list of ideas for your passion project. But there was one big one missing, and also just some ideas and concepts to consider for how to strongly move forward into your passion project and ensure a more effective success rate and enthusiasm and enjoyment in the process of creating this. So let's just jump right into it. And I do recommend checking out that episode if you're interested in creating a passion project, you're not sure where to start. I do go into some really great details there. But the category I missed was one wonderful way to start to generate the list of ideas for what's the passion project for me is to look into what were the challenges that you have personally experienced in life, the things that you have overcome, the things that you might see as just a part of life. Maybe it was getting into a certain school, maybe it was making friends, or maybe it was learning how to network, or maybe it was being able to get a job or to transition, or maybe it was to figure out how to join a play that you really wanted to be a part of, or to start learning to sing, or whatever it might be, something very near and dear to your heart that was a challenge you overcame. That can be a beautiful source of a passion project, because what you can inspire is you can see, okay, this is something I struggled with. I knew and learned how to get through it. I can help other people now move through this same challenge. Because if you think about it, I mean, you might go, well, everyone gets into school or has to get into a school or a college or a grad program or whatever, but not everyone does. Not everyone does successfully, and not everyone does very easily. And so you might have learned some tips, some tricks for how to triumph that in the process that you can provide and share and help a whole community of people who are struggling to do just what you did, who maybe don't know how to get there. And nothing is too basic or too it could be learning to cook. I mean, look at how many cooking channels are out there. There are out there. If that's something you're passionate about, you really want to teach people who don't know how to cook how to cook. I mean, you will find an audience that will be drawn to you. Don't think, oh, well, that's been so done, or there's so many people, there's so much competition. I strongly recommend, so this is like part of the strategies and things to consider. Try really hard not to look at your passion project as a competition. You know, when I first started to teach yoga and breath work, there's tons of yoga instructors out there, but we don't see each other as competition. We'll all have our own frequency and our own resonance of people who will want to work with us, and that's perfectly fine. But we're not competing with each other. We're simply being there and offering a service, and the right people who are aligned to what we have to offer will find us, whether we do additional work with marketing and sharing of our message or social media. It might show up in a lot of different ways, but we will find our people. We don't have to say, I need to, because there's another yoga teacher, I shouldn't teach yoga, or because there's tons of people who have, done this or that, I shouldn't do it. You are an incredible human being just in and of the essence of who you are. There's no one out there like you. You are incredible. And the life experiences you've had are unique to you. And you have so much value. And when you start to see your own value and start to recognize that your journey, your life is so incredibly empowering and amazing, then you can start to be more comfortable with saying that you want to create a passion project over something that, out of something that you just had dealt with. Maybe it was something you dealt with your family. Maybe it's a challenge you've had with a family member who was ill and you had to learn how to do things to be a caregiver. Or maybe it was just learning how to handle an emergency situation. I mean, there are so many people who would gratefully take a course to learn or to gain that expertise, that experience, or the experiences you've had. And there's going to be a different way for everyone who to have accomplished whatever they triumphed or overcame. Just because 20 people got into the same school, that doesn't mean they all went down the same path. And each one has a valid path to share, and in a story to tell, and a message that they can offer to other people that will have value to help them see if it's the right decision for them, and how to make that choice, and how to successfully navigate that path. A lot of the things that I do come from experiences and challenges I personally have experienced, like with the helping grad students and postdocs get a job in industry from being in academia. I know that path like really solidly well. It's like a game now to me, but I can help other people. I'm passionate about helping other people. I'm so fulfilled by helping other people make that transition, because I know it's not easy, and I know far too well how painful that was. And so when you find things that are experience, like look into your life, what has it that you have done? What have you accomplished? What is a challenge you faced? What was a struggle you had? We often overlook, the simplest of things that to us is simple. We go, well, I didn't know how to snap. Like, but there's a lot of people out there who can't. I can sort of snap, but like, there's a lot of people who would maybe want to learn how to snap or to learn how to whistle. Like, that's such a simple thing to you, maybe, but maybe it was meaningful to you. You really wanted to learn how, and you finally figured it out. Well, great. There are other people out there who just would be dying to be able to whistle or snap, but can't. And so nothing is too small of a feat or an accomplishment. There is a person out there for just about anything that you know how to do, a struggle you had. Because if you face that struggle, somebody else out there faced that same struggle, and it maybe is embarrassed or frustrated or angry or feels like they're going to give up because they just can't do this one thing, but they desperately want to. So, and there's always children who want to learn things that are easy to an adult, but maybe you break it down a certain way that kids can understand it. There's so many options for how you can turn something that you struggled with into like this beautiful gift to other people. And there's a level of empathy and authenticity that comes through when you share a personal struggle and help people overcome it, because the pain, how hard it is. And so that will come through when you're working with people, helping people, putting workshops on, or doing a talk, or maybe creating a course, or whatever, raising funds to do this one thing. Maybe it's like maybe it's a scholarship program. Maybe your thing was like, so how hard it was for you to pay for school or to get through school, and the struggles you had working a lot while trying to do this, and you want to help other people not have to face that. Maybe you like create small stipends, or you create small scholarships that you can give to multiple people, so it's just a little bit easier, and it gives those people a break. Or maybe some money for food for like people in school who just are paying all their money into their bills, and like just to go there, that they don't have a very good diet and healthy resources to go off of, whatever it might be. Like, there's tons of ways that you could, and like maybe it's like for a district where the schools don't have the greatest resources for food for the kids, and maybe your big thing is like giving kids lunch money, or giving kids like a meal ticket or something, and giving the enough money to, or gathering and like donating and like creating a fundraising event or something, so that a school can provide some sort of lunches to their kids, and or maybe you can give the tickets to the parents to like I know there's and the thing is, you might go, but there's programs for like food stamps and things like that. Sure, but they aren't actually available to everyone who needs it. And there's tons of communities out there that could be improved. Like, let's look, there's always a way to make something a little bit better. There's always a way to maybe supplement their things with like maybe an apple. Maybe your thing is like, your whole movement is every child should have an apple if they want an apple, like, or an orange, and like vitamin C is your game, and like that's what your like maybe you didn't have lunch every day, and you want to make sure that more children don't go through that. Like, whatever it is that you've experienced, pains, that it doesn't just have to be pains that you're angry about, just something you've had to overcome or live through, and know what that is like, and you would like to make it better for someone else. Those are really amazing places to draw from. But that empathy, that not only makes you more effective when you go to serve, but it will, because you will just having someone see you and understand what you went through. Like, think about those struggles that you had. Maybe it was the getting money for school or food or like whatever it was. When you were struggling there, you would have been so grateful to have someone, and maybe someone did. And maybe what this is you repaying and paying back, like, to the community, what someone did for you. And like, but you know what it would be like when someone sees you and goes, I know how hard you're working, and I'm going to help you out. I want to help you out. This is how I can help you. Like, you would have been so grateful to be given that break. Or like, maybe you're helping, kids in school who have kids or something, and like they're going to college, and they're a single parent, to have resources for support for their family that are a little bit more supportive than what's available right now. And or maybe where the gaps are, you're helping to fill the gaps, or helping them find the resources to fill their own gaps, like making things more accessible and spreading the knowledge. Like, knowledge, it doesn't have to be about money. Knowledge is so valuable. Like, just knowing where to go. Sometimes like having like that command center, whether it's a website or like an actual location, that can be so helpful, because sometimes people just want to know, where do I find the scholarships? Where do I find the food that's like affordable? Where do I find this thing? These are all, like ways that you don't even have to spend a dime or raise a dime, and you can still create like a valuable resource that's your whole passion project. And so that's a big thing. And the empathy of like, it doesn't just help you serve, but it also helps you to draw the right people. Because if you're sharing on social media, if you're sharing about your passion project, when it's something that's near and dear to you, there's like a very strong, unique frequency that you emit into the world, and the right people will find and see you, and they'll feel your authentic empathic nature of understanding their pain, their struggles, and they'll feel what your experience was, and they will want to come to you. They will want to support you. They will want to come to you for help. So that empathy is such a powerful magnetic force. Being authentic about what you care about and sharing about it. Maybe it's not videos, maybe it's posts. Maybe you're not even in the picture, but you sharing your message from that authentic voice, that is going to draw the people. And because this is like a building process. Like, it's not just like you build a ship and they're going to show up. Like, it's a matter of creating a movement. A passion project isn't just about, you make this one thing and then it's there. I mean, you absolutely can. You don't have to make it bigger than you want to make it. But if you want to make an impact that like affects all of these lives, if that's what your game is, then you're going to have to draw those people, find the people, get them to find your resources. Because you could have the most amazing resources in the world, the most like amazing scholarships in the world, but no one knows about it. Well, what good does it do anybody, right? Like, you got to be able to communicate about it. But when you can communicate with empathy and authenticity, oh my God, that's such a beautiful combination. And you can draw all of the people that need and will benefit from you and what you have to offer. So that's a big thing. And then another point that I'm going to hit on is, when you're creating a passion project, this is my personal recommendation. Do what you want, but this is what I believe. I believe the best, most effective passion projects will be derived from creating, not destroying or fighting. So I am a big believer in seeing all views, allowing for all views. While I might disagree, while I might have a different perspective or, take on something, I still value and respect that this is a free country. We're all allowed to be here. We're allowed to say and think what we think and believe and share. And that's one of the most beautiful things about being here. And one of the gifts that comes with that is allowing for multiple perspectives to exist and to coexist and to thrive together. So you could have someone who's really passionate about the environment, but rather than try to take down all the ways your kid's school is doing things that are wrong and fight them, you create a movement beside them or with them or through them. So instead of saying you're terrible, you're failing at this, we should go on strike and ruin this and force you to do something differently. Maybe you're not getting a response from the school. Like maybe your thing is the environment. Maybe you want to introduce a better recycling program at your school or something, or a composting program, and they're not hearing you. They're like, we don't have the resources, we don't have the time, whatever. They give you lots of reasons. And they're just like, no. Instead of battling them to force them to create the program anyways, I would recommend you either look and be curious to see, why is it that it's not possible? Is it just you really don't want to do it? Is it that the resources aren't there? Like, what if we can fundraise for it? So first being curious and seeing, is there another way? And why is it a no? And then if it's just a no, then okay, how can I independently create a composting program? Is there a lot that the city would provide that would be one that could be allocated? Is there a park that would be willing to have a small compost area that you could request or lobby for? I don't know exactly how the city works, but is there a way that I could, is there someone in your area who happens to have a very large property, who's very into movements and supportive of things like the environment movements and things like that? Maybe they'd be willing to share a little small plot on their land that would be they donate that little space, or allow you to let kids compost there or something. There's lots of ways, and there may actually be a compost program. I'm using a very specific example here, but it could be for anything. There might be other programs that exist that you could go support and become a part of. So your passion project is evolved into maybe a bigger group that you get to work with and support. And that can have even bigger impact sometimes. So just because you hit a wall, that doesn't mean you should fight it. I don't think that, and maybe they just disagree and they think it's not valuable. They're like, we don't think you should have I don't think there's anybody really who would say that. But whatever your passion project is, maybe your whatever other organizations you're trying to go through are just against it, or they have opposite values. And that's okay. It's okay to have opposing values. And I'm not saying you can't fight or argue, do whatever you want, but I find that people are more uplifted and more expansive when they've carved a niche for themselves out in a place that will be supportive of this. And it doesn't have to be a physical thing. Maybe what you're doing is, you can't get your school to start a compost program, but maybe you're able to raise funds for the supplies needed. And there's 100 other schools in other districts who would love to have a compost program. So maybe you can't make a direct impact right here, but maybe you can make your impact over there, and you could do it virtually initially. Or maybe you can maybe what the universe is trying to show you is you are capable of making an impact even bigger than your surrounding environment. And you could target schools all across the country who would love to, but they just don't have the resources or the knowledge for how to start this. And you could go teach them. You could create a course for it, and you could help teach parents in the other districts. This is how you can start. If your school will let you start a compost program, here's the steps, here's the tools you need. And maybe you learn, oh yeah, these people are totally on board. They learned how to do it and they ran with it. And then maybe there's other ones who are struggling with it, and they just don't have the funds, and you help create a fundraiser for that. And then you allow them to do that in their environment, in their district. try to look at what is possible and how can I create, not destroy, because there might actually be other programs for something that's not composting, but like that you're in opposition with. So maybe the values are completely separate and you're sitting there going, but I think we should do this, and the whatever is in place there right now is like, no, it's against what you want to do. Well, instead of fighting it and trying to tear down the existing thing that's there, where else can you look to and go to create? Like maybe there's an education thing you want to do and your school's just not supportive of it. Maybe you could go to the local library and teach a class on it to kids, and they would love that. Like they would be supportive. They would advertise for you. They'd tell people in their community about it for you. Like instead of looking at where is there a battle, where do I fight, or look at who else is on my side and wants this too. Where can I go? Where is the community that wants what I am offering? Like you can't always, I mean, you can fight people, but I find that a passion project's really meant for joy and love and your heart to be expressed in your lifetime. That's what a passion project is about. To feel rewarded, to feel warm inside, to feel like you're making a difference in your community, your world, your family. And if you're fighting people tooth and nail, if you're fighting people constantly battling an uphill battle, none of that fits into a passion project. Can you fight and have a cause? Absolutely. There's beautiful passion projects out there that are fighting, and that might be the right thing for certain people. So I'm not saying never, and I'm not saying that, you're a bad person or that you can't have a passion project if you're fighting. There's lots of reasons that people have to have if you feel that that's what's in your heart, then by all means go do it. Like if you feel that's what's really in your heart, but I'd still encourage you to look and question at, where is the venue you're trying to express your heart? If you're trying to express your heart in a hellish place that's constantly fighting you, your heart is going to burn and it's going to be painful. But if you express your heart in like a beautiful, lovely valley of people who are loving and supporting you in this idea and the community that you want to support, you're going to get a whole lot more help and you're going to get a whole lot more growth much more quickly in a way that's going to feel better the whole time, because you're not going to be dealing with knives being, thrown at you. You're dealing with, here's money, here's support, here's time, here's help, here's volunteers, here's people who want to create something with you. And I just think that sometimes it's easy to get a little bit too drowned in a battle that you think, because you think it's important, you think other people should need to do this way. And I'm really about, how can we stop forcing other people to be different? Because you don't want someone to just like, it always comes back to like, what is it that you want people to do for you? How do you want to be treated? If your pain point and your thing that's driving your passion projects, like, I want to do this, and the school saying no, or the whatever is saying no, or like that's in opposition of our values or whatever, then do you really want to tell someone their thinking is wrong if you don't want someone telling you that your thinking is wrong? And I'm not, in some ways you might feel like, oh, well, they are kind of saying that what I'm thinking is wrong because they don't want to do what I want to do. But maybe try to look at it as, okay, they're playing over there, playing their game. How can I go over here and play my game? You don't have to play in the same yard. Like you can, but it might be very painful and not very creative and uplifting and expansive. But if you went over to this other yard where nobody else was playing, then maybe you had all the space and time and resources to build what you want to create into something huge and unimaginably beautiful and impactful, without resistance, without people fighting you every step of the way. And that's where the brilliance in a passion project lies, is where is there the most likely chance for upward movement and success and support? Because that's what you want. That's what you're going to be looking to, because, as your project grows, as you impact more people, it's going to require more support and love and help from more people. And that's like the dream. That's ideally, like, I mean, depending on what you're trying to create, if you're trying to make a movement, if you're trying to create a big impact, you want to get to a level where you need more support and more hands, because that means you're impacting so many more people. You're getting to make this huge difference that's like growing and expanding and touching even more lives. And when you do this in a way that's like in parallel to, instead of fighting the other existing structures or people or things, if you do it in parallel, like you play in your lane, I'll play in my lane, and I'm just going to create my own resources, I'm going to find my own people, you will have much more fun the whole time. You can try to battle people and maybe at the end you have a little fun, but like, why not play in your lane and be the best in your lane and create a movement that brings in so many more people in such a loving and like a way of building instead of destroying. Like, remember, you don't want someone to come over onto your side and say, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't care about composting or about this ethnic group or about this thing. You don't want people coming in your world, in this beautiful land you're creating, and saying you're wrong, or you don't, people shouldn't care about that. Now, people still might, you can't control everything. People will still do crap. Like, but generally speaking, you know what I mean? Like, if you think about your life and your movement and your passion project, you don't want people coming in and fighting and battling you. You just want to have your own free space to express yourself and your passion project and help a bunch of people. Like, just keep that in mind, because I would love for everyone to, and more people to find that niche where they thrive and grow, and they don't have to tear anyone else down to do it. And there is always a way. It may not be obvious in the beginning. It may not be right in front of you. And you might have to work a little harder to find that niche outside of your current reality in your world. But it exists, and it's so possible. And in the potential is just so incredible for those kinds of movements and those kinds of projects. So I will leave it at that for now. Hopefully this has been helpful, and I will look forward to sharing more in the future. And I hope you enjoy the next videos.